What's up, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and this is Albuquerque Journal Sports Live. I am with Sean Reider. Sean, how you doing?
Good, Grammer. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I am hoping, of course, as I always am, that these microphones are working and that you guys can hear us okay out there. We are coming to you from the Todium Center. This is the third floor at University Stadium, and we're doing this week's show after Jason Eck's weekly football press conference that basically previewed somewhat this week's game against Michigan. Sean, we will be getting, this will be a lot of Sean Reider content today, a lot of football preview stuff about the Michigan game, but we are also going to cover some highlights. Let me clear the way with all the other stuff. Some basketball stuff, New Mexico State scheduling. November 15th is when that Lobo basketball game, when the Lobo Aggie game will be played in Las Cruces at the Pan Am Center. They're only playing once this year. That news was broke yesterday. It was actually broke a few weeks back, actually a couple months ago, I think, by Rocco Miller. There was some possibility that was not going to be the date. There was some talk about changing that date. But in the end, that is the date they agreed to long ago, and it ends up being November 15th in Las Cruces is when the Aggies and Lobos will be playing in basketball this year. And I was a little interested to see that now college basketball starts earlier than it ever has, but it is the earliest they've ever played. New Mexico State for a long time has sort of heard or sort of complained that they hate when the game in Las Cruces is played when campus is out, when school's out, and the kids aren't on campus. The history shows this game's in December almost every year for a century. And this year it's not. November 15th, there will be no reason why that student section in the Pan Am Center shouldn't be filled. And with the new coach and an entirely new staff at UNM, there's certainly a good chance for NMSU to take care of the Lobos like they did last year when UNM had a really good team and NCAA second round tournament team. And the Aggies still won in the pits. So should be another good game. This will be the last time. They haven't officially announced anything, but this should be the last time that they only play once in a year. They will go back to the twice-a-year thing. Not many schools do that. I think there's only 2 or 3 schools, Division I basketball programs in the entire country that actually do that, where they play twice in the non-conference if they're not conference opponents. It's pretty rare, obviously, to play twice in the same season, a home and home. For NMSU and UNM, though, it makes sense. They both struggle to get quality home games in non-conference. This gives them that. This gives them their best gate of the season, their best draw of the season in the non-conference. And so from a financial standpoint, from a competitive standpoint too, it makes sense for both programs to have this game. And it's going to go back to that. It just is. So there's that. Talked to volleyball, talked to cross country. We talked to women's soccer today. Did all those things at the weekly press conference. Jason Eck and football, of course, is the headliner. I will cover the bases real quick on those other sports. Volleyball won an exhibition, starts in earnest this week, and we'll see. Not a whole lot to say about them just yet until we see them actually play. They took care of New Mexico Highlands. They should take care of New Mexico Highlands. Cross country today, the coaches' polls came out, and number 2 for the men in the country, number 4 for the women in the country, UNM cross country, is a national brand, and is both men's and women's programs are top 5 in the preseason, coming off a track season. I kind of asked about that a little bit, and I hope it wasn't lost in the question I had asked earlier. But they had good finish, men and women both had good finishes in track championships last year. How much did that carry over in the summer and carry over to cross country? Obviously, their success in track was predominantly because of their distance runners, so you would think it would carry over quite a bit, but track is far more than just the distance runners, right? So anyway, they're doing really good. They got a chance to be national champions this year in men's and women's cross country. I think he kind of hinted at today that he would have felt a lot better about national championship chances in men's track this year had they not lost their mile runner.
Ishmael Kip Curry.
Thank you, Kip Curry.
I don't think he hinted at it either. He was pretty clear, we feel great. He was still here.
Yeah, he really thought this was a program that would have been competing for a national championship. So had he stayed, now they're still going to be a pretty good team, and he will see how they develop between now and next spring. So that covers cross country. Soccer is 1-1 0-2, 2 draws and a win. The next win will be Heather Dyke's 100th career coaching victory. and she is on a women's soccer for UNM Lobos is on a 2-game road trip at Oregon and at Oregon State coming up this week. So 2 tough ones there. If she gets win 100, it'll be at one of those schools. That would be a nice little feather in the cap. UNM did beat Oregon here 2 years ago. Just last year, I believe it was. And those aren't powers per se in soccer, but they are funded and better facilities, better funded, some NIL money in those programs. They should be better than a team like New Mexico, and we'll find out if they are. And New Mexico, she likes her team. We'll see how they compete. They are a young team. They did lose some players. Coming into this year, they lost their leading goal scorer, who they thought would be on this year's team. I'm not talking NIL losing. They lost due to injury. Who they thought was going to be their starting goalie, and who they thought would be their leading scorer. And so they've already been hit by injury before the season even started. But they got some good things going to soccer too. So early in the season, things are going well for all the UNM sports because they're just getting started, and optimism is all around. But we care about football more than anything in this world. And here we are, week 1 of the college football season.
We made it.
We're here. Jason Eck just had his press conference. The highlights are what we'll set this up. The spread right now is at 36.5.
I've seen as high as like
38.5.
So I think between like 36 and 38.
All right, 36, 38. Michigan's favored by a lot, and they are expected, obviously, to take care of business against the Lobos. I think most Lobo fans understand what this is, and it is a game that will help fund the department and help fund the program and all those kind of things. And it's a starting point. That's what it is, right? It is day one start against a nationally ranked team in the Big House with the new coach and basically almost an entirely new roster. That's what this is. Sean, any chance of a competitive game?
Before we get into my answer, apparently our viewers can hardly hear me, although I can hear myself.
Yeah, again, this is what happened last year when Geoff doesn't know how to work this mic. When
getting another message.
Try now.
Can anybody hear me? Anybody, any viewers want to send a quick message if you can hear me? That is really, really sharp in my ear. Anybody?
It's because I turned your mic all the way up. So let me see if I can get the Sean's mic is not working.
He said, I can hear you. It is just a little low. Rob, what's up, Rob? Said, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. So again, I don't know where this mic is coming from. If it's from my computer, which case I will scoot it over a little closer to Sean.
Yeah.
If it's from these headsets like it is supposed to be, I don't know why it's not working because it's been since March since I've done this apparently. So
all right. You want me to get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. Spread what? Anywhere from 36 to 38.5 is what I've kind of been seeing. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Michigan is really, really, really talented. Obviously, they have the number one recruit in the class of 2025, Bryce Underwood, Belleville High School legend. There was a point when I was still in Michigan where I thought Belleville was going to win every state title as long as Bryce Underwood was there. And they didn't do that, honestly, which was probably a bigger upset than anything else. But no, there is a reason why Underwood was the number one recruit in the class 2025 overall, number one quarterback, number one recruit. He is just that talented. And we have heard that he is kind of the real deal. I spoke with a Michigan beat writer at the Detroit Free Press yesterday, and he said, he felt it was more Underwood's job to lose. One thing I thought was pretty interesting, though, is that Davis Warren, who was their primary QB last year down the stretch, when they kind of turned things around and got to that, that big finish against Ohio State, obviously, and then Alabama in the bowl game and all that too. Davis Warren, he tore his ACL in the bowl game, if I remember correctly, and then they got Mikey Keene, former Fresno State starter, in that quarterback room. Apparently, Mikey Keene has not practiced since he got to Michigan, which I thought was really interesting, honestly. So right now, the way I always looked at it, was that you're going to open against New Mexico if you're Michigan, and you're going to start Underwood and all that, and see how that kind of goes. But if things aren't going right, you kind of have Mikey Keene as an insurance policy, and they don't have him right now. I think Jaden Davis is just the one true backup there. So that was one thing I thought was kind of interesting. The The defense in particular, they lost Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Those guys were monsters last year, really good. They do bring back Derek Moore. Derek Moore maybe could end up being the best of that bunch. They're really talented linebackers, and Barham and then Ernest Hausman. Guys in the secondary like Zeke Berry. Rod Moore, if anybody watched any Michigan last year, I don't think he'll be good to go for this game. But no, across the board, really talented team. And the one thing I kind of said is that they're going to have to be selective on offense in terms of selecting what one-on-one matchups they want to try and exploit. Should I stop talking?
No, your mic is still working because it's going through the computer.
Oh, okay.
I'm switching the cords up here because I'm trying to fix it. But no, our mic is still not great, but it's still coming through here on the computer, and I'm trying to fix it over here.
Anyways, no, they said they're gonna have to be selective in figuring out what matchups they want to exploit. And last year before they played, last year, if you're not familiar with the context, when they were at Idaho, their opening game of the season, Jason Eck and a lot of this coaching staff and a lot of players, frankly, on this roster, before that game, Eck kind of said, look, hey, the pressure's not on us. We have more to gain from this game, and we're going to go out there, we're going to go coach loose and aggressive. That's exactly what they did, and they kind of got close to a point where they could have shocked Oregon, only lost by 10, I think, as 45-point underdogs, something kind of absurd like that. And that was a game that really got everybody's attention and kind of set them up in a good spot in terms of confidence going forward for the rest of the season. Of course, after that, they went out and upset Idaho on the road as well, although that was not an Idaho team. Excuse me, Wyoming. Sorry about that. That was not a Wyoming team in a very good spot at that point in the season. And that's kind of the same message here. They're going to go out and they're going to coach loose and aggressive, and they're going to have to figure some things out. The one thing that I thought was interesting, throughout camp, we had talked about the defense kind of being ahead of the offense and all that too. It feels like the offense kind of rose a little bit and kind of balanced things out, down the stretch of fall camp. Part of that is, getting Jack Lane as a starter, feeding him reps and all that, and getting him working with guys more consistently than it was before. But I did think it was kind of interesting, the idea that, hey, like it still kind of feels like, at least to Eck and something that he kind of said, that, you don't know how good either unit is until you kind of get them out there and get them live against Michigan. So big game, big opportunity for UNM. Do I think they can do it? Probably not. They need a lot of things to go well. They need, the keys to the game are pretty simple in some respects. Do not turn it over. If you can force turnovers, absolutely. You're going to need some help from them, and that's something I kind of admitted to today. Got to figure out a way to shorten the game. And you got to hold up on both lines of scrimmage. You're gonna have to make something happen on both lines there. You kind of can't afford to have a crucial injury in there too, whether that's a quarterback or a cornerback or, it's a really tall task. Do I think they get it done? Probably not. Do you always want to write it off? No, and everybody can always talk about App State and all that too. But I do think this Michigan team is kind of up for the challenge of making sure that they get the season started on the right foot.
All right, I want to ask.
Really long.
No, but I was trying to fix mics in here, and I know how to fix it now, but I'd have to disconnect real quick. I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to ask you your thoughts on two things that are new. One being the availability report, and two being this week's unveiling of a two-deep roster for both Michigan and New Mexico. How did that play out? How is that being handled? And what are your thoughts on the two-deep roster for week one?
I will give UNM credit. The two-deep roster, what they did, and you might have already seen this on Twitter already because it's kind of taken off there. The offense, instead of having the regular two-deep there, you have a bunch of characters from Tom Hanks movies. The defense, you have a bunch of characters from Tom Cruise movies, and special teams, you have a bunch of characters from Leonardo DiCaprio movies. I will say I like Billy Costigan in The Departed as the punt returner. I think that could actually be kind of dangerous. That guy's crazy enough to do anything, as you saw in The Departed.
Why is it? Yeah.
The reason that they did this was Michigan does not release a depth chart, and because of that, they didn't want to release a depth chart either. Am I personally the biggest fan of it? No, but I always
we're reporters.
Exactly. I always pull for the things that make my job easier and all that too. So you could probably anticipate sometime this week a projecting the depth chart article that I actually meant to put together last week and never really got around to. So look out for that. I do think I honestly do have a relatively all right feel for the two deep. Wide receivers we'll kind of see. I also do want to give everybody an update too. I've always tweeted about injuries and asked about injuries and all that too. And I will still be asking about, injuries to a pretty large extent. I think there's a lot of value in that. I do think it's important. With the availability reports, we have an arrangement where UNM now, it's not just me, it's the entire media corps out here, anybody that covers UNM football, where we do have game week practice access for the first time. Since my time on the beat, and I would imagine the first time in a really long time, maybe if ever, honestly, outside of kind of the 30-minute window where you kind of film and all that. Do you remember anybody that ever did that in the past?
I don't think so. It's been a while.
Been a while. We can actually do that, but there is a caveat. We cannot report availability stuff in terms of who's practicing, who's not practicing, and then stuff like formations and trick plays and all that. This is an arrangement I've had in the past when I was covering a previous school. I actually liked it then. It really helped inform our reporting, but I want to be transparent about it. I'll probably tweet something out about it later today at practice, because I think you guys deserve to know, why are we not tweeting about this stuff? And if there's a question, about is this guy practicing all that? To a certain point, I probably can't, at this point in the week, I probably can't answer that question all the way. That would be kind of a violation of that. And I do want to respect the arrangement because I think it brings legitimate value to us. But that is the transparency I wanted to give. In terms of the availability reports, I believe there's just 2 availability reports. One comes out, the first one on Thursday night, probably 7 or 8 p.m. Mountain Time is what I've been told. And that's going to be the people obviously that are out. They won't give injury designations on the availability reports. They'll just say this guy's out or questionable and all that. And then there will be another one, I think 3 hours before kickoff. If they have to add somebody else, they take somebody else off that was questionable.
Ben's chiming in with obviously Leonardo DiCaprio is the special teams division, but had we really thought this through, Forrest Gump as the kick returner makes perfect sense in that he is the only character of all these that actually played a college football position. So yes, Forrest Gump as the kick returner would have been ideal. But I will point out to just kind of close up on the initial week gamesmanship of the two deep that there is one guy, the Money Pit, definitely way before your time.
Money Pit.
So the Money Pit, Walter Felding Jr. of the Money Pit. Considering you're going into the big house, maybe you give him a little more playing time than a backup, considering he brought down the big house. Like he was a part of the big house collapsing and just going to crap, basically. So if you're trying to make the big house implode, maybe you put in Walter Felding of the Money Pit.
I know. I know Tom Cruise, like you're not going to bring him over into the offense as well too and all that. I really think Ethan Hunt could actually be kind of a weapon in the secondary, low key. 5'7", 170 defensive end. That is just not going to work against Michigan. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think
it's
so.
It's not going to happen. And I will also say this: I give UNM a lot of credit for actually putting the time and effort to put this together.
So I got a question for you. UNM, or who's the movie guy that actually does these notes at UNM that did all of these?
I will give credit to Frank Mercogliano for it. I will give them more credit. Utah State just put out, of course, former UNM head coach Bronco Mendenhall is out there. They just put out a blank sheet with nothing on there. And UTEP, in turn, answered with a blank sheet of their own. But Utah State fired the first shot there.
I will say this is the only two deep of the whole season you're going to see without oars.
Yeah. I kind of wish there was an oar on here, too.
Yeah, a couple oars. That's my – I like seeing how deep into the season schools still put like this guy or that guy at these positions. Anyway, I will say this about the this week's Michigan game. Well, let me say one more thing about the injury report. I'm not going to bog you guys down with journalistic stuff. You guys are fans watching this to learn about the game.
We got a game this
I'm
week,
making one journalistic comment and then I'll move on. Asking reporters to not report on something they see.
Okay.
And asking reporters if somebody's on crutches who might be going to class on crutches when other people can see it, that's when things get tricky. So yes, we signed credentials and we agreed to certain things. But if somebody's walking around in a cast and they're going to class in a cast and you're asking people who go to practice not to report on that, that's when things get a little unfair and that's when things get a little messy. And that's one thing that we can't agree to not report on things that everybody in the public can see. If it's something we just see at practice, there are agreements to that. That's what we can and can't do. It's not right to ask of any journalist not to report what people in the public can see. And that was what was so tricky about things like, hey, don't take pictures at a spring game, but we want thousands of you to show up. And all of you that take pictures, you can do it if you want. We're not going to do anything to you unless you're a media member. You can't do that. That's not how that works. So we'll move on to Michigan. I'm not going to start a little fight with this right now, but there are problems with this. There's a reason this doesn't happen at other places. So
there is a question from my guy Juan Beza that I would like to get to because I asked about it today, and I finally actually have an update about it to kind of shift gears here.
Yes. Juan is asking, what up, dogs? Did Agu make it back?
Darren Agu. Juan,
is it Agu or Agu? I thought it's Agu.
I think it's Agu.
Is it Agu?
I would have to check the pronunciation guide, frankly. But Darren Agu, Vanderbilt transfer, defensive lineman, a big dude. He had a pretty solid spring. He has not been with the team for all fall camp. He is a London, England native, and he has been held up with, I think, passport issues or visa issues. I asked about it today, and X said they're hoping maybe in the next week they can get him out. He's having some issues with the consulate or something like that. I believe that was the word he used.
He did. He
use that, and no, they're having issues. They were having issues and all that, but the one thing he said that was kind of positive about that situation right now is that there is actually more of a process right now. There's a process underway of getting him out here compared to a couple weeks ago when there wasn't really much of anything. So Juan, I would anticipate him maybe being back soon, but we will see what happens.
I did like the exchange when Jason X said he's close, to which Frank Mercogliano off to the side said, well, wait a minute. He's not, wait a minute. Like he didn't understand. That was a figurative. He's close. He is close to being able to get the paperwork done to get back. He is not like
on a ship. He's
geographically he is not physically close to Albuquerque.
He's however many miles off the coast.
Yes. So there was some lost in translation moment there where we were talking literal close and figurative close. He is close to being able to come back. He is not close to being back, literally. So, but anyway, that was interesting. I do think too, what else was interesting is a lot of questions about what do you do as, frankly, this is the tone this time of year of these games, right? What do you do as little old New Mexico going into the big house? And how do you handle this? How do you prepare your team for walking into the big house and just not being defeated before you even kick off, right? Not being beat up by just looking at the arena and
being in awe,
being in awe, and losing yourself in the moment, not in a good way, Jason basically said we will go to the stadium the day before. He doesn't always do that apparently, which is interesting.
That is interesting because that is
a lot of
very very normal practice. Yeah. Every team I've ever covered out here, they've always done that.
Let's just assume Saturday games, right? A lot of teams usually do go to the stadium on the Friday before. He said he does not always. I didn't get the impression he doesn't ever not do it. It just sounds like it's not a big we do it this way or that way kind of process for him. Yeah. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, whatever. But this week they will on Friday go to the big house, and he noted that players want to take pictures and post on their Instagram pictures of the stadium they're in, and they want to have that wow, look where I'm at kind of moment. Let him have that the day before the game. He does not want that on the morning walkthrough or just when you're arriving at the stadium to be caught up in that wow, look at this moment. He wants to get any part of that he can get out of the way the day before and then go sleep on it. He's going to do that. They don't always do that, but this week the Lobos will be going there Friday to try and get that out of the way, to try and make Saturday as much a regular game as possible. I don't know how possible that is, but I guess we're about to find out.
And I will note too, I'll talk to a couple more of them today. I did talk to Jackson Eck and Caden Robinette and no, those are the only two I talked to yesterday actually. Who are Idaho transfers, and they played in the Oregon game last year. And does Autzen Stadium probably have the overall aura of the big house? Not quite, but that is a place that gets really loud, and that's a place that gets really intense. And they certainly do, the fans really get into it, and it's going to kind of come down on you like that from the stands. And those guys said like, hey, like we think that experience like really helped us, like to a certain extent. Like Rob Nett mentioned, he's like, I had issues with my first 2 snaps because of how loud it is. He's like, I'm not going to have issues this time around because I've been in that environment.
Now this one's obviously bigger, more fans will be there, and there is a mystique, a history to it. But I don't know that mystique and history mean as much to a 20-year-old kid right now.
I don't think so either.
I don't know. You're there. You're a 20-year-old kid. What do you think?
God, I wish I was still 20. Keyshawn James Newby, like he talked about, and Keyshawn James Newby is a guy that could probably, out of all the guys in this roster, could probably aspire, maintain and hold NFL aspirations as much as probably more than anybody else on the roster at this point. Maybe Abraham Williams as well. But, Keyshawn kind of mentioned, he's like, no, it is cool, like to go play at the big house. And it is cool to go play at the Rose Bowl. Now, that's also a guy that started his career at NAIA Montana Tech. Like it was just really off in the corner and where nobody was watching, then climbed the ladder, Montana Tech, and then to Idaho, and now to the spot where you can open at the big house, do all that too. So I think he probably has a little more appreciation for it than other guys, and he is a bit of an older guy. But yeah, I don't know if I think you're probably right. There is some truth that I don't know if 18, 19, 20-year-old kids always care.
They play video games.
I shouldn't call them kids. It's not like I'm that much older.
No, you're an old man of 20, one and a half now?
25. Hey.
25?
25. Jesus. I was 22 when I started.
All right. So 25-year-old Sean, who still never had a grape or a blueberry, is talking about these kids and kids these days and how they're approaching the Michigan game.
Kids these days.
Tell me about Michigan's quarterback. There's a couple posts on social media and a question today that seemed to even suggest the same. Do you have a chance against a first-time starting freshman quarterback of making him a little nervous? I would say any freshman who's starting for the first time, there's a chance, I guess, of that. But this is a pretty good quarterback, and the rest of the roster is first-time starters at Michigan.
I do think you do, honestly. I mean, and I will say, like, that is one thing that is interesting to me. I've kind of been positive about it to a certain point throughout fall camp and all that. I do think this front seven, really more of a front six because of kind of the base defense that they end up running, although they want to be multiple. I do think this is the best one I've seen in terms of my time on the beat so far. Granted, that's not said it once to say it again, not a really high bar to cross, but I do think it is the best defensive front I have seen, and they do have a legitimate knack for getting pressure. And if you can put pressure on Underwood, there might be something interesting to happen, but you got to really hold up on the back end as well, and you got to deal with that run game too.
There was something alluded to of him having a $12 million NIL deal, as reports have said. Mm-hmm. It is. I do not believe he is getting paid $12 million. People need to take these NIL numbers with some common sense context, and that includes some of this stuff is gift in kind of money.
Yeah.
This is not a check for $12 million. This is a car company leasing a vehicle. Boise State does that an awful lot. They talk about it every year, right? When they lease players something and they get to say that's a whatever dollar value lease, right? But it's not really them getting the car. And they sometimes are required, not sometimes, they're often required to give the car back after a year and after when the lease expires, all that kind of stuff. Some of that is this NIL money, right? Apartments that they're able to live in for a year, stuff like that. So that said, the dude's getting a ton of money and he's really, really good. Jason X said he's not Tom Brady, but he's really good. I don't know that you care if you're UNM. Like, you're going to play a nationally ranked team. Do you care that their quarterback is that good, or do you just care like, man, we aren't going to be able to make many mistakes against any of them? It's not like you get intimidated by the number of stars in their quarterback spot as much as you do their defensive line or their offensive line, and like some of the people that most fans don't know about, like those guys are all four stars too and 5-star guys. Mm-hmm. So I think fans talk about the quarterback an awful lot. I don't think a freshman quarterback is dominating the film room as much as maybe look what they do here in this.
How do you deal with Derek? Like, right. Yeah, that
exactly.
How do you deal with that guy? And
exactly.
How do you deal with the linebackers? Hey, Zeke Berry, interesting guy. How do we deal with him?
If a freshman comes in his first game and just lights you up because he's that good, it's not that you didn't prepare for him. It's just that maybe he's that good. Like, I think the Lobos and Jason again said this, and it makes sense in a game like this when you're 36 to 38 point underdogs. You focus on what you do. You're not supposed to win this game. Like, you focus on what you do. And I don't think you actually overly focus and overly scout the opponent when you're basically expected to lose by almost 40.
Yeah, no, and he kind of alluded to that point, right? Like, it is the element of, I mean, and certainly like you're going to do your due diligence scouting. It's not like you're not going to throw on the tape and uncheck that all out. And they do have the wrinkle of, there is a new offensive coordinator of Michigan, Chip Lindsey, coming in from North Carolina. There is that wrinkle there as well too. But yeah, it is kind of a game where it's so much not about you. Like, the Michigan press conference yesterday of Sharon Moore, the head coach there, I don't think there was a single New Mexico question.
Yeah.
Everything. And granted, I will say this, the Michigan beat has bigger fish to fry. They need to ask Sharon Moore about the NCAA stuff, and they got to ask about, Underwood and all that too. I totally get that. Those are the stories that serve your readers more than, hey, what do you think about New Mexico's front seven and all that too? But, no, yeah, you have to kind of focus on yourself in spots like this. If you are a team like New Mexico, I did not address the question. Can you pull that last one up? Sean, who is the better QB you get to see in person next weekend? Aiden Childs or Bryce Underwood? I think Underwood is not quite an unknown, but I would like to see him play a college game first. But Childs is a lot to figure out too, so I'm going to kind of go a draw here and all that as well.
I'll go with the biggest storyline of the
Thank
week.
you for your question, Tom.
Biggest storyline for me of the week is the Michigan homecoming of one Sean Reider.
Yeah, I'm back.
Where'd you go to school?
What's up?
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Michigan State University.
You gonna be okay this week?
I'm fine. Yeah, it's normal.
It's normal.
I've done this.
No green blood running through your veins. It's gonna make a.
No, I might have a quick appearance in East Lansing, considering they always do the Friday game there, but not going to be pounding any MSU drums, nothing like that. And I'll say this honestly, being out of the state has kind of dimmed the rivalry a bit for me. Like,
wow.
It's just like, it's not my job. Like, I think I was able to watch 4 MSU games last year. I'm just not really.
Wow.
I'm out of it. I'm washed.
A little depressing.
Not really. It's part of the job. I'd rather do my job here as well as I can. Get enjoyment out of that.
Your job here includes this question.
Yes.
We talked about Michigan's quarterback. What can we expect out of having a quarterback who's at least taken some snaps and had some starts under his belt in the system?
Quarterback Jack Lane.
For Jack Lane.
4 years in the system.
And UNM Lobos. Like, how much, obviously it's an advantage to have some experience at the position, right?
Yes.
How much can the Lobos lean on that? Or do you bother leaning, I guess the question is this: since he has the experience, do you lean on it more in game one because he has that experience, or because it's Michigan, do you sort of just kind of play it vanilla and maybe don't overdo the quarterback spot?
No, I think you're kind of, look, it's, this game last year, the Oregon game last year, I should say, Jack Lane got hurt in that game. Offensive linemen got hurt in that game. Other guys got hurt in that game. I don't think you go vanilla. I think there might be a certain point where it's, hey, the game is out of reach and we got to kind of protect our guys and make sure we're not dealing with a lot of injuries and all that. But I do think it's disrespectful, maybe isn't the right word, but it's these guys grinded all throughout camp and all that and been through the dog days of camp and fought through it and all that too, offense and defense. Yeah, I think you got to give them the best game plan possible and give them a chance to go out and execute.
I'm curious what you then.
And I'll actually tie that into the quarterback thing too. So I don't think it will be a vanilla type deal at all. I am interested to see how they approach this defense in particular. It's actually a pretty, in terms of what they do base wise, the base 4-2-5 and then kind of, some of the other schematic wrinkles that they use. It's not the same thing as UNM, but it is pretty similar in terms of how they approach it. Obviously, Wink Martindale, great NFL defensive coordinator with the Giants most recently, but really the Baltimore Ravens, obviously calling the shots there too. And that's not a fun guy to go in and game plan against. Doesn't matter what kind of coach you are, but yeah.
It would appear that somebody has posted this week's viewing guide, the People's College Football Viewing Guide. Week 1 shows UNLV playing at Michigan at 7 p.m. on NBC.
UNMLV?
UNMLV?
Rare.
Rare, very rare.
I don't see that so often.
As far as uniforms go, too, hate to be the bearer of some breaking news before they wanted to break the news, but the Lobos will be wearing all white this week. They will be going white pants, white jerseys, and all that stuff. I think they will have an unveil on social media a little bit later this week that I don't think Jason Eck knew about. I think you were typing in your computer when that came up. Did you hear any of that?
I did hear it. Can I give you his response verbatim? Not quite. I was kind of trying to do something else at the moment. But no, yeah, it appears that's the Rocket. And
he was asked a question about what they're going to wear basically on the road because they can't wear the turquoise that everyone's in love with. That was unveiled this week.
I will say too, they did a hell of a job with those.
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
Are genuinely, I always wondered what the turquoise would look like. Those are genuinely very cool.
Very
I'm a
nice.
big fan of the Zia helmet. That's a good look.
And home teams wear their color, and road teams wear the whites. It's darks and whites, and home darks, road whites. You wear the white. You cannot wear the turquoise. So in answering that question, he kind of let the cat out of the bag, not knowing that I think the social media team may have had an unveiling of the jerseys coming later this week. And I'm just reiterating it because that's me, I guess. I don't know. Running backs, we got another question here, or really more of a statement from our guy, talking not about the quarterbacks here, but where did Richie go here? Richie's comments.
I tell you, there's a quarterback I want to talk about with Richie. Big preseason for Jackson Dart. Let's go, Richie.
Jackson Dart did have himself a preseason.
Yeah, a pretty good one, man. I like what
his coaches did not put him in a position to fail. I don't think any other coaches did either. All right, we got 3 to 4 solid backs, so we can hopefully move them chains with a fresh pair of legs.
Yes, and that is
he talked about how many players he likes.
Well, and that ties into other stuff too. So Richie, you're 100% right. I think if I had to guess, first scary of the game, unless it's some kind of different design and all that fits a different guy better, probably going to be Montana State transfer Scott Humphrey.
He's good.
Damon Bankston out of Weber State. He has a skill set that's really nice. He's a guy that can get past the second level pretty well too. The guy that I have really come to like in this running back room, I always kind of thought it was Scott Humphrey, and then Damon Bankston, and then kind of like a tie between Deshaun Buchanan out of Idaho and then DJ McKinney out of Sam Houston State. And part of that was just kind of because Buchanan has a leg up playing in this offense before and kind of having a feel for the sweet spot of the mid zone run they like to use. But McKinney is really, he's really been great. And he is, I believe I'm looking at the depth chart with his actual measurements on there. But McKinney's, I think, is the smallest of the room, but he has really caught my eye. And I would not be surprised if he does, maybe not against Michigan. We'll see what happens, but I would not be surprised if he has some really nice games in the near future. But yes, keeping guys fresh legs, that is a big deal. They are probably going to rotate some on the offensive line.
He was talking more about the lines when he said it, but I got the impression he's not a fan of not having depth prepared for week 7, week 8, week 9.
And they have always talked about rotating on the defensive line. That is not a luxury UNM has had recently, and that's part of just legitimate quality depth, and it's also part of they've had guys get banged up recently and all that too. So they're going to rotate a ton the defensive line, I think you have to do that. Gabe Lopez in particular was a guy I talked to about that. And Lopez said, dude, by the end of the season, I was always gassed because I was playing 50, 60 snaps a game. So ideally, if I'm playing 20, 30 snaps a game, that's when I think I can be at my most productive and all that too. So it seems like people have really bought in there. I'm curious what the offensive line rotations are going to look like. The starting offensive line, and I'll write a little bit more about this later in the week. The way that I have seen it, it's been Malik Elaine moving out from a normal guard to left tackle. Eck has said he's pretty well penciled in there. Mercer transfer Israel Mkwiza at left guard. Idaho transfer Tatum Robnett at center. Richard Pierce, the one returning starter, at right guard. Right tackle still kind of feels up for grabs at this point. I think the first play, and we saw it a bit more last week, him work his way into that competition and start getting more reps there. I think the first play Michigan, it's probably going to be Air Force transfer Tyler Lawrence coming in there. But Eck mentioned today, Isaiah Silliman is a guy. He was involved. Silliman was involved in the center battle, the left tackle battle, the right tackle battle, and all that too. I think he's still involved in the right tackle battle. And like I said in the past, that he's a guy that they feel is probably one of their 5 best offensive linemen. It's just they kind of have their interior already set, and they got to figure out a way to get him in there too. So, yeah, I think they're going to rotate a good bit on the offensive line, and for the early part of the season at least, and just kind of keep guys fresh there.
Matthew Narvaez chimes in. What does Taylor and Travis's engagement mean for the future of the Mountain West? I'll tell you. I was glad to see Travis give away another ring. Is that not the play there?
Wow, that was like a 2015 joke.
Is that not the play there?
That was pretty good.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Loyal listener.
Long time.
There is one other question from Juan that I'd like to pop in and talk a little bit about today.
Have at it.
Juan Bays, outside of Ziel Smith, wide receiver Ziel Smith, were there any other true freshmen that popped out or impressed you, Sean? I kind of talked about this a little bit today. Ziel is a guy that is going to play a lot this season. And I think Ziel is deserving of that. Part of that is, though, there are some injuries in the receiver room and all that, too, and that's something they've dealt with throughout all of fall camp. But Ziel, I think that is a guy that has really improved on a week-to-week basis. And he does, and I think he is pretty clearly top 3, and maybe you could possibly even argue top 2 in the receiver room as a true freshman. Top 2. Yeah, so Ziel Smith definitely popped, and he was a guy that kind of had a slower start. And yes, he's a true freshman, kind of adjusting to college football, but it wasn't all that long. They got him off kind of the developmental field and onto the starters field in practice and all that as well too. Other freshmen, I kind of talked about this today too. Me personally, quarterback Jameer Torres did a lot of nice things during fall camp. And I thought he had some really good moments in scrimmages as well too. I did talk to cornerbacks coach Stanley Franks Jr. last week, and he kind of mentioned that he wasn't sure how much he was probably going to play, but X said he thinks that Torres will play some. I thought he did some good things there, and I think he's given them some good depth in the cornerback room as well. CJ McBean is a guy that had a pretty solid fall camp that Eck also cited as well. Jamar Tassi is an offensive lineman, freshman, that Eck said he thinks will have a shot to kind of rotate in. I'll be honest, I don't have an amazing feel for Tassi as a player. I think sometimes during fall camp you kind of gravitate more towards starters and stuff like that too. But I mean, I haven't seen him get a whole lot of top line action during practice, but that's not really what practice is for.
I want to remind people where we are. We're at the Todium Center. The Jason Eck Weekly Coaches Conference was today. The Olympic sport coaches come and talk for the first 15, 20 minutes. Give us updates on their team. Sometimes they get a question or two, but a good 20, 30 minutes at the end is Jason Eck talking about that week's football game. I am going to, sorry for you Sean Reider fans, but let me just let you know where we are. There we are. I can't tell for sure. I can venture a guess, but it's been two runners that have been running around down there. I think only one of them is still running. I don't know if you can see it with that mic. Doesn't really matter. But I want to say they're on about lap 15. And while it doesn't go as deep, high school fields that have the track around the football field still, it doesn't go as deep in the right. It doesn't go as deep beyond the end zones, but they are wider on the sidelines than the track is. So let's just call it a quarter mile. I think this person who is running right here, Sean, I believe I would say is on about almost probably approaching fourth mile or so.
I'm really happy to know that you've been locked in on the show the entire time and just this riveting conversation.
The pace is a pretty good pace too, though.
I think it's more than a quarter mile. I think it is.
Well, one lap around the track is a quarter mile, right? And if that's around most high school football fields,
yeah, actually, you're right.
So,
but she's like right on.
She is, and now the track goes further. Right now, like, I know you guys are fascinated.
This is the best. This is Lobo sports coverage. This is what I'm talking.
Someone at UNM can run.
These guys got their finger.
Breaking news: someone at UNM can run pretty good in that nationally ranked cross country team. But yeah, they're running around the football field, and there is a countdown to kickoff. clock going on right now that is at 4 days, what is it? What are we looking at? 4 days, 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 10 seconds now.
Yep, not 9 seconds.
You're welcome, everybody. All right. I want to let you guys know, too, that Saturday is the opener for UNM Lobo football. We are going to be doing this regularly on Tuesdays, this show, and we will have depth charts. We will have a game to talk about in the past, a game coming up to talk about coming up in the future, and it won't be as much, prognostication. I'll use that word from Sean about what he has seen. We'll have some game film, if you will, to go on and talk to you about some of this stuff. What we will also have is Saturday night. We are planning to do a post-game show of some kind. Those shows will have a start time of anywhere from like 30 or 40 minutes after game time to like an hour and a half after game time, depending on Sean's availability due to deadline. Different game times, different locations mean Sean has some other obligations to our primary focus at the Albuquerque Journal, which is getting the story out on time and getting the paper out and that kind of stuff. And we will still be doing these. We just don't know always what time, but shoot for 30, 45 minutes after game time.
Yeah, probably 30, 45 minutes after game time. Usually the safe kind of bet there. And some stadiums are a little bit different too,
right,
in terms of getting back up to the press box and doing all that.
That gives Sean an opportunity to go to the press conference, do his interviews, home or road, and get at least the initial story wrapped up if he needs to. And then we can talk to you guys a little bit, take your questions, answer some questions. Sean may not be able to talk for hours, although I'll bet Sean could talk for hours if he wanted to about football. But he does have some other obligations after a game. But we're going to do post games. The point is we're doing post game shows. I want you guys there, and we're going to be doing these every Tuesday. Hope you guys keep coming back to these. You can watch these on archive as well. Just because you missed the live show doesn't mean you missed the show. You can go back to X on mine or Sean's account and find the link to the show. You can go to the Albuquerque Journal's YouTube page, ABQ Journal. It's youtube.com/, with the @ ABQ Journal on YouTube. You do have the @ I believe. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. It's high quality stuff here.
I do want to add the post-game shows. We'll get to some more questions here, obviously. The post-game shows are my favorite shows.
Are they?
I'm a big fan of the post-game shows.
Oh.
I appreciate all the questions on them after. I genuinely enjoy talking with all of you about the games. It's very fun.
There is an interesting dynamic to the post-game show because it does have the live kind of almost visceral reaction of a fan.
There's been a couple shows where I have really I've struggled to find my words and phrase things correctly.
But there are times though that I think that the fans
Auburn comes to mind.
well, there are times that the fans surprise me with kind of what they focused on. That I watched the same game and I wasn't really focused on the same stuff. So I do like the quick kind of reaction.
It helps also in the sense of hey, what am I going to write about after the game and all that. Sometimes you get a lot of listener comments. And it's like, hey, no, I think people want to read about this and get some more.
Well, before we get to G-Wade, here's Richie saying it's going to be an hour-long show after we beat Michigan 99-0. Richie, I guarantee you it will be an hour-long show.
If they beat Michigan, that might be a 2-hour show. Like we might be going all night.
And you better be there, Richie.
Richie, yeah, we need you.
All right, G-Wade's asking, do we have the personnel front seven to hold up against run game and Underwood? Sean has mentioned that the Lobos are much improved on defense, is what that says. He in a subsequent post, he does say defense. But let's go back to the question. Personnel front seven, we good to go or not?
G-Wade, good to hear from you as always. I do think it is vastly improved. So what I have seen relative to my time on the beat, again, said it a million times, not a very high bar in a lot of respects, but I do think they have upgraded kind of in the front seven. Whether it holds up against Michigan's run game, I can't give you a great answer right now. I think, how do I put this? I think if, UNM was also a Big Ten team and all that too, and they were practicing, against each other and trying to simulate looks as they have been doing. They've kind of weaved in Michigan prep throughout the last couple weeks of practice and the end of fall camp. Maybe I'd give you a better answer there. I do genuinely kind of believe Eck when he does say, like, you kind of just don't know until you get out there and you really get into it. Underwood, I think, will be interesting. I think it's, I do think there is a relatively simple formula in the sense that I think he's going to have a lot on his plate. But, freshman quarterbacks, right? You pressure them, you bring it in on them. if he holds up against it, he holds up against it, right? And that's a point I kind of mentioned today as well too. It's like if their best players are beating or are running past us and beating us on certain deals and all that, you might just kind of have to live with that, But if we're having a lot of defensive busts and all that, and we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, then that's where the
frustrating
big issue is. Yeah.
I do think that what you can take from week 1 to week 2, be it a blowout or not, whether they compete or not, from week 1 to week 2, you tend to find some things out about guys that you don't always know in practice. There could be guys out there that are absolute killers. There could be guys that aren't great practice players.
And they're gamers, yeah.
And they're gamers. Yeah. That's always a tough thing to deal with in my mind as a coach. And obviously people who have coached know how to handle this better. You don't want to always reward somebody who's a gamer and shows up just for games, because they're supposed to work hard at practice all week, right? It's hard to, it's a tricky kind of situation, but there is a reality to it, man. There are some guys that tend to show up for games that you wouldn't have guessed it all week, or you wouldn't have guessed it all camp, right? Mm-hmm. There are other guys who might have looked great all camp and come game day, or they're in their own head a little bit too much and they're thinking a little too much, and that split second thinking as opposed to reacting causes problems, causes issues. So you tend to find a few of those things out in the first few games that maybe you just can't find out in camp. For the most part, I think they know who they got. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of surprises to the coaching staff, but I'm not the coaching staff, so
we'll see.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see how much that depth chart changes from week 1 to 2. Bet you it changes a lot from week 1 to week 2, since this week is a bunch of actors. So this was one of the very first questions of the show that I didn't post. I'm going to post it now as we kind of hit the home stretch and are about to wrap up. Charles is asking, are you guys going to give us a prediction of the score? Should or might be. I don't know how you feel about giving predictions. I'll give a prediction. I don't see any huge upset here.
Give me a prediction.
I haven't thought about a score, but
if it is 30, I want to give this context too. If it is like 38.5, and maybe I got to probably shop around and look at what places have it right now, and we'll have it going on.
Yeah, but easily is 7.
That is the biggest spread since Texas A&M in 2023, which is one of the biggest in program history.
I was about to say 7. I meant 5 touchdown plus spread is what it is, though.
Yeah.
It is at least a 5 touchdown spread. That number's probably fair. I don't think these numbers come out of nowhere. I'll lean towards New Mexico keeping, I guess, covering, especially if it's 38.5. I don't think they're going to be overly competitive, but I do think that they're going to have a good show of it. I think this is a brand new roster playing a team that's nationally ranked in the Big House. I think it's a little too tall of an order to ask that they go upset them. But I think they can be competitive. And even if it ends up being a 42 to 14 type of game or something like that, where the final score just looks really lopsided, I think they can cover that number. But I also think that they can show some things that they can really build on.
Well, yeah. And I'll say this too. Like, we saw the different deals, right? Different teams as well, because both teams didn't really end up being all that good. And I think Michigan will probably be pretty good. I don't know if they win the Big Ten, but they'll be pretty darn. They seem like they're going to be pretty darn good this year. Like the Arizona and Auburn games last year, right?
Right.
Maybe more so the Arizona game, but the Auburn game, that was a game in the first half and all that too. And even if it wasn't, I don't remember the spreads around those games. I don't remember if they covered. Actually, I think they did cover in both those.
I don't think Arizona they did. I think they ended up getting a lot.
No, I think. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up. We'll put in a story this week too. But I think those games, even though we talked through in like the post game shows too, I think it's frustrating for fans to lose and all that too. But it's, hey, you're more competitive in this caliber team than you saw in the past. But granted, those were not outstanding Power 4 teams.
Well, so this is week 1 too. We could kind of do it in this way. I'll do this. My prediction is I think their win total this year is set at 3.5 at most spots. I think they will win more than that. I don't think they'll get to 6 and go to a bowl game.
I'm in the same boat as
but I think they're better than 3.5 wins. I think I'm optimistic about the program building that appears to maybe be going on here. It's easy to say that if you're a fan, if you want to wave the flag, the UNM flag, not a white flag. If you want to just kind of, thump your chest and say, go Lobos and say he's building the program here, that's really easy to say, but I'm going to go with hey, let him play a game first before I really jump on board. The guy hasn't coached a game yet. It does appear that everything that can be done up until week 1 looks like they're headed down a pretty good, solid path for what could be the long haul. And I don't know what the long haul really means in college athletics anymore, but
Yeah,
it's going to be more than a season. It's going to be more than a season like the last coach was here for. I do think that they seem to be presenting a program and building of a program that could be successful here. And I like what I see.
Yeah. And it's, and we can always, again, there's always the reality where, we've seen coaches at other places and all that too. And we feel great about things that are going on and the program building, and then you get into the actual seasons and it is not quite turning out the way it hopes, right? So there's always that possibility there. But yeah, I think generally I agree with you. But you got to play the games. I don't think we're going to have I don't think we're going to have a great feel for what this team is going to be until about a month in. That's always kind of a cop out and all that too. But
remember a year ago, they were 0-4 and I thought they were a pretty good team. Like I'm telling you, they lost.
We were having conversations. Is this one of the better 0-3 teams in the country and stuff like that?
Look, I think they can be a pretty good program, and I think this week isn't going to be the one to look at the final score and make any big judgments.
Well, and it's the element too of it's a swing that I don't like because it's weird as a reporter, and I think it's weird as a team. Like Gabe Lopez at one point during fall camp told me, he's like, I don't think we're going to have a great feel for this what this defense can be until week 3, right? Or after week 3, because we're doing good stuff out here and all that, but again, you got to get on the field and play against other guys. And UNM has a swing with, okay, you go to Michigan and try to cover a massive spread.
Yeah.
If you do that, that's probably considered a win. You got to go back home and then play an Idaho State team that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, FCS team, but they played UNLV.
They just played pretty well.
UNLV defense was way out of sorts at certain points, and kind of be expected to deal with them relatively handily. And then you got to go to the Rose Bowl. UCLA, it should be an improved UCLA team. And then obviously after that, a very hotly contested rivalry game against a New Mexico State team that I think is set to make a pretty solid jump. And Tony Sanchez's second year.
Waited till you finished talking to Cough there. All right, Sean, any final thoughts? Otherwise, I want to thank everybody for tuning in here.
Do we have any other last second questions you want to get in here before we
Lobos to the college football championship.
If that happens, I will eat like a truckload of grapes, a truckload of berries. Like I will just nothing but fruit for a month, like just all out there. Just make it happen.
Jack Lane, a more accurate deep ball thrower than Devin Dampier.
I do actually like his touch in the deep game, honestly.
I thought Devin was pretty good.
I thought Devin was pretty good. I do like Lane's touch.
I mean, Devin's a fantastic quarterback.
I do think Devin has overall a stronger arm.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because it is something that always stood out to me. Not saying Devin was bad in that area, but as Jack maybe an upgrade specifically, I do think he has some pretty good touch.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jack enough, so I'm not going to pretend to give you an answer comparing the two. I will tell you I'm on team Devin Dampier being a fantastic college quarterback.
I'm excited finally to have like actual like completion percentages instead of just like looking at it, watching practice. Yeah. Like, seems like they're completing a lot. But,
all right, Sean, Michigan should be fun. Enjoy your trip to Michigan.
Thanks, man.
We will we'll learn something about this team, even if this game isn't the best to judge a whole lot on, but we will learn something about this team and have a whole lot more to talk about next Tuesday. So have fun. Check out all of Sean's preview coverage this week online, abqjournal.com. You can subscribe and help local journalism. abqjournal.com/subscribe will get you there, and you can subscribe to either the print edition or the digital edition. Also check out all the podcasts that we're doing, these live shows we're trying to do all season long, these Tuesday shows plus the post-game shows. And Sean, do you have a new podcast coming out this week?
I have a podcast that should be like out like right now.
So on Tuesdays.
It'd be great. Oh no, excuse me, it's not tomorrow. Oh, my bad. Wednesday afternoon, expect a podcast with the great Tony Garcia of the Detroit Free Press. Does a great job covering Michigan, and we have a funny little story of the last time Tony and I saw each other. So
I'm sure it's fantastic.
It was in Brooklyn, Michigan.
All right. So look for all Sean's coverage. Hey, I want to give a shout out to, as I do frequently because he is just a beast, but James Yotis doing his high school stuff is
monster.
It's fun to watch how much stuff this guy actually does in the high school sports season. It's not just high school football.
When are we getting Yotis?
Well,
we need dude.
He's got podcasts coming out too. So anyway, abqjournal.com. Help us out if you can. Subscribe. Local journalism, all that good stuff. Thanks for being on. Thanks for giving us the questions, and we'll see you here after the Michigan game. I imagine a lot of you will be watching the game as well. So
thank you to everybody as always for always producing our show. It is a great time of year, and I'm happy to be back in it, and so let's have some fun. Let's enjoy it.
Thanks, guys. Now we're gonna do our long end stream button that takes like 10 seconds.
Always takes so long.